This newsreel is being brought to you by the Flooring Center in downtown Springfield. There were many beautiful Memorial Day ceremonies all across Robertson County today. If you weren't able to make it out to one of them, that's okay. Instead of showing you a little bit of each one, Smokey has captured one entire ceremony for you. It's a shorter, more intimate ceremony. The one we chose was held at Memorial Gardens in Springfield. You'll hear from County Mayor Howard Bradley and the County Sheriff Bill Holt. The ceremony itself was conducted by the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts, and they had a flag burning. Very interesting ceremony, and so without further ado.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. It's such a beautiful morning. At this time, I'd like to introduce Jim Spiller and the Boy Scouts for helping us out, and they'll take it from here. Thank you.
Please stand for the posting of the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is no set method or ceremony for the retirement of the flag. The following is a direct quotation from the beginning of Title 36, Section 176 of the United States Code. No disrespect should be shown to the flag of the United States of America. The flag, when in such a condition that is no longer fitting for emblem or display, should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably by burning. At the end of this ceremony, this is what we are going to do. We are going to, and at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mayor Bradley.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for turning out this Memorial Day morning. I have a very few remarks for you today. I'm convinced that what we say here and what we do here is not nearly as important as the fact that you are here. That you've taken time to remember, taken time to memorialize those people who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our liberties. This morning we had a ceremony in Greenbrier, and on the way up there in front of the American Legion, I noticed a series of white flags, white crosses rather. And I thought how appropriate that is today of all days, but indeed those white crosses should be in our hearts every day when we think about the sacrifices that have been made on our behalf. For most of us, this is simply the beginning of summer, and we're dusting off the boat, bringing out the grill, and doing all those things we associate with this time of year, without taking a moment to think about why we begin the summer this way, as we have for the past 145 years. As most of you know, this began with something called Decoration Day in the aftermath of the Civil War. It actually started in the South, spread throughout the rest of the country in the years after that. It became pretty much institutionalized by the end of the 19th century, although it really wasn't until 1967 that it became a federally adopted holiday. But yet it's time that we all reflect and remember. You know, Scripture tells us that there's no greater love than for a man to lay down his life for his friend. And the men and women that we choose to honor today lay down their lives for their friends in America, but not just for America only, but throughout the world. One such man was a man named William Stacy, and he epitomized what it meant to be a non-commissioned officer in the Marine Corps. He was described by a journalist who was embedded in Afghanistan as having a bright and concentrated flame that could cut through stone. It spelled death and failure for his enemies and gave life to his comrades. In January of last year, the 23-year-old from Redding, California, who was on his 4th deployment, was killed by an IED in Helmand Province. Like many going into combat, Stacy wrote a letter in the event that he died to his wife. And he said this: "My death did not change the world. It may be tough for you to justify its meaning at all, but there is a greater meaning. Perhaps I did not change the world, but there will be a child who will live because men left the security they enjoyed in their home countries to come to his. And this child will learn in the new schools that have been built. He will walk his streets not worried about whether or not his leader's henchmen are going to come and kidnap him. He will grow into a man who will pursue opportunity that his heart could desire. He will have the gift of freedom, for which I have enjoyed so long. If my life buys the safety of that child, then it has been worth it all." I would argue that the sacrifice made by Sergeant Stacy and countless other Americans have indeed changed the world. There's oftentimes a rather simplistic and naive belief that war doesn't solve anything. And I suppose that's true unless you begin to think about winning American independence, preservation of the Union, the elimination of slavery, and the toppling of fascism. Time and time again, our servicemen and women have stood for something. They changed the world. And the world that we enjoy today are the fruits of their labor and of their sacrifice. More than 60 years ago, America was involved in a horrible war in Korea. One of those survivors is an 87-year-old man named Herbert Miller. And he would not be alive today had it not been for the sacrifice of Captain Emile Pepon, who encountered him as he lay frozen in the blood-drenched ditch in North Korea. Suffering from a grenade wound and a broken leg, he was captured by the Chinese. Miller was lifted and carried by the chaplain, who selflessly put the needs of his fellow soldiers ahead of his own. Many tales of Father Capone's heroics were later recalled by survivors in the North Korean prison camp. After coming down with pneumonia and dysentery, Capone died in a camp hospital for the POWs called the Death House. For his heroism, Father Capone was posthumously given the Medal of Honor in April of this year. When the order to evacuate was given, he ignored it because he wanted to share whatever was in fate with the men that he was with. During the Medal of Honor presentation, the President said that Father Capone was an American soldier who didn't fire a gun, but who carried the mightiest weapon of all, the love for his brother so powerful that he was willing to die that they might live. We owe people like Sergeant Stacy and Father Capone and nearly 1 million other men and women who have died defending America a debt that we can never really repay. We need to be there for all of those who have gone before us, who have fought for us, who have paid that price. We need to remember them. As President Lincoln said, we need to bear up the wounds of those who paid the ultimate price, to look out for his widow and his orphans. And we as a nation have a moral obligation, not just to remember those who paid that price, but the debt that we have to all those who went and stood in harm's way for our sake. The fact that so many veterans have difficulty readjusting when they come back home, do not receive the kind of medical, psychiatric help that they need, the job training that they need, is something that we should not tolerate in this country. Heard a young man this morning on television say that he spent 15 months in Afghanistan and he will spend the rest of his life coming home. I think for so many of us, we don't realize the fact that just because they're back home again doesn't mean that the war is over for them. For many, the war will never ever be over. But for people like Sergeant Stacy and Father Capone, thank God they thought the sacrifice was worth it, that our liberty was worth it, that our sense of nationhood was worth it. And not for America only, but for the free world, because those sacrifices have made it possible for all of us to breathe freely and to think as free men. God bless you for being here today. Thank you for what you do to keep the memory alive of those who have sacrificed so much. Continue to support and remember and be there for the families of those people who paid the ultimate price.
Good morning. It's an honor and pleasure to be here this morning. I'm a veteran myself. I'm proud that I was able to serve this great country. Our people now and in these days have somewhat become complacent about our service, our wars in foreign countries with disgust. Those that are giving the supreme price every day, we seem to forget that they're there fighting so we can be here today, enjoying this beautiful weather, have the freedom to move about, have a freedom to go to the lake, have a freedom to go to church, have a freedom to barbecue with families and members. And they've paid this supreme price. And even as we continue today, as the wars rage in Afghanistan, these people have paid this supreme price over there to keep it from being here. And sometimes we fail to remember. Miss Ann asked me also not to take anything away from all the veterans that have passed, but she also wanted to remind you of your emergency service workers here every day, very close, very evident. You see them moving around every day. You just saw the fire truck going. Somebody is in trouble, and there they go. We have two police officers shot every 2 days on average. This year is already 46 have been killed. Last year it was 120 in the United States. We've had 33 firemen already killed this year. Last year it was 82. This includes volunteers. If you remember, just about 3 weeks ago we looked and saw the tragedy in West Texas, and where the 14 volunteers, some of them are EMTs, some of them firefighters, all volunteers just about, run into trouble. When all of us run the other way, they're the ones that go in. If you'll remember the tremendous terror attack on the towers, where all of the law enforcement officers and firemen, knowing that their lives were at jeopardy, they went in, and many of them didn't come out. And we see this every day, and we see the wars as being something over there. And we get news briefs and the things like Mayor Bradley mentioned on there, those are forgotten. Those are the stories that never get told. And we just ask that each and every one of you continue to remember each and every military serviceman that is serving today in active duty, regardless of where they are. They make it so we can be here, remembering those that have paid that supreme price. You've heard the saying many times that all gave some and then some gave all. And we just want to take this special day to remember that. Remember your law enforcement officers and firemen and EMTs that are out here today as we do. And like you said a while ago, you just saw the fire truck that had to leave. Somebody's in trouble, and you've got to have somebody to respond. And this is what they do. They put their lives on the line every day so that we can be here doing what we do today. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America, and thank you for being here and taking time out from this busy schedule and holiday when people are at the lakes and other things. Thank you for being here this morning to pay honor and pay tribute to our military and our emergency service personnel. Thank you again for allowing me to be here.
At this time, we're going to retire some flags know that what we're about to do is out of the utmost respect and undying honor for the flag. In these days, more people are flying flags and more flags are becoming unsuited for display. We are holding this ceremony as a service to our community and nation. We want to thank the Boy Scouts of Troop 144 and the Cub Scouts of Pack 51 for this ceremony. We will open our ceremony with a short history of the U.S. flag. I am your flag. I was born on June 14th, 1777. I am more than just a piece of cloth shaped into a design. I am the refuge of the world's oppressed people. I am the silent sentinel of freedom. I am the emblem of the greatest sovereign nation on earth. I am the inspiration for which the American patriots gave their lives and fortunes. I have led your sons into battle from Valley Forge to the blistering desert of Iraq. I've walked in silence with each of your honored dead to their final resting place, beneath the silent white crosses, row upon row. I have flown through peace and war, strife and prosperity, and amidst it all, I have been respected. Old Glory is my nickname. I proudly wave on high. Honor me, respect me, and defend me with your lives and fortunes. Never let my enemies tear me down from my lofty position, lest I never return. Keep alive the fires of patriotism. Strive earnestly for the spirit of democracy. Worship eternal God and keep His commandments. And I shall remain the bulwark of peace and freedom for all people, for I am your flag. Now we will begin our formal flag retirement ceremony. Please stand. Go. We present this flag that has proudly flown over our nation and its war dead. It is ready for retirement. This flag has represented our nation with honor and pride and become worn as a result of its usual service as the emblem of our country. This flag and all other flags it represents have become unserviceable while flying over our country in times of peace and war, and as our nation's men and women died defending its honor. It is concluded that this flag and all other flags it represents have become unusable due to the proper service of tribute, memory, and love. Men and women in the military and Boy Scouts will salute, while the rest of us put our hands over our hearts.
We hope you've enjoyed Smokey's coverage of this Memorial Day event. This has been Jim Ball reporting for Smoky Barn News in Springfield. When you're going over the vast array of flooring options available today, why not consider a company that's been doing floors since the early 1900s? That's right, I'm talking about the Flooring Center. They're located at 505 Memorial Boulevard in Springfield, and the minute you walk in the door, you'll know things are different. One thing you'll notice right away, whether you're talking to an installer or you're talking to a salesman on the floor, everyone knows a lot about floors at the Flooring Center. So whether it's hardwood or tile, if you're looking for price, quality, and service, then you're looking for the Flooring Center, formerly the Furniture Center. For more great flooring ideas, see a link to their Facebook page below this video.